Hello everyone, welcome to my channel IELTS with Ralph, and I'm Ralph. Hope you're having a great day. Well, today we're going to talk about pie chart, and we're going to write a 9-band score in IELTS Task 1. And today we'll also see how we can write a very good report when there is a lot of data provided in our chart. And as you can see here, there are a lot of percentages here. So how can we write, how can we make sentences that will not sound, let's say, repetitive to the examiner? And as you can see, there are two pie charts. The first one is about UK tax revenue for last year and UK total government spending for last year. And first of all, let's read the question. The pie charts below show the sources for UK tax revenue for last year and the total UK government spending for last year. So both of the pie charts are about last year. And we'll see the tax revenue, where are the sources, what are the sources, and how the UK government spend these, let's say, revenues on different sectors. So we're going to talk about this. So as you know, in writing our Task 1 academic writing, there are 4 paragraphs. There are 4 main paragraphs. The first one is introduction paragraph. Then we provide an overview paragraph in which we talk about one thing or a specific feature that stands out when we take a look at pie chart. And then there are 2 body paragraphs. So for the first body paragraph, we will write about the first pie chart, which is about UK tax revenue. And for the second body paragraph, we'll write about total government spending for last year. So let's just start with the first paragraph, which is introduction paragraph. And as you know, we simply paraphrase the question. Sometimes we have to add, let's say, we have to add more data if it's not provided or if it's not mentioned in the question. So in writing our first paragraph, which is introduction, we have to read the question again. The pie charts below show the sources for UK tax revenue for last year and the total UK government spending for last year. So we can start writing our introduction like this. We can write, this report is about 2 pie charts, right? Because we are provided 2 pie charts here. One that shows the sources for UK tax revenue, and another that shows how the UK government spent their money. And one thing which is important is the date, and which is about last year. And we should write this. Both charts show statistics from last year. This is a very simple, a very good introduction paragraph. Now, in writing our overview paragraph, we have to take a look at both charts, and we have to, let's say, analyze what feature stands out more than other features when we take a look at this pie chart. As you can see, sometimes we write about the biggest. So what is the biggest source of income? So as you can see, income tax was the biggest source of revenue for UK, all right? And the largest expenditure was pensions, as you can see, which is 20%. And remember something, we should not provide any data. We should not provide any percentages here. We just talk about the biggest or the largest. So the biggest tax revenue or the largest government spending, which is income tax and pensions. We can write this. It can be clearly seen that we most of the times we start our overview paragraph with this phrase. It can be clearly seen that. It can be clearly seen that income tax was the biggest source of revenue and pensions were the largest expenditure area. That's great. All right, this is our overview paragraph. So we write about a feature that stands out when we take a look at the chart. Now, let's just start writing our first body paragraph. As you know, we always start from the biggest or from the largest. So the biggest here is income tax, as we mentioned earlier. And after that, you can see it's 21%, which is national insurance. And after that, a value added tax. And then others, which is 11%, and corporation tax is 8%. And one thing which is important here is that council tax, business rates, and fuel duty are all 5%. So we can mention all of them, and we can say that they are all 5%. All right. Now, one thing which is important here is that there are a lot of percentages here. So we should mention all of them. All right, but we should change our sentences. So we should just change the structure of our sentences so that our report will not be repetitive. All right, so we start by writing something like this. The sources that the UK government was most dependent on last year were income tax. So one thing which we should mention here is the most dependent sources, which were, let's say, national insurance, income tax, and value-added tax, all right? And the least, let's say, the sources that contributed the least, which are the others, like fuel duty or, let's say, corporation tax. So we divide this chart into two parts. The most dependent tax revenue and the least dependent, all right? So I start from the beginning again. The sources that the UK government was most dependent on last year were income tax, which made up 28% of tax revenue, national insurance taxes, which made up 21% of value-added tax, and value-added tax, which made up 17%. This is a very good structure. So let's read it again. The sources that the UK government was most dependent on last year were income tax, which made up 28% of tax revenue. And pay attention to the commas I've written here, I've put here, which made up. So when you provide data or when you provide an explanation for something which is not necessary, it's only you add extra detail, so you put it between two commas, which is here, like which made up 28% of tax revenue between two commas. National insurance taxes, again, which made up 21%, and value added tax, which made up 17%. Now, there are other sources that contributed the least to this tax revenue, and I mention here. The sources that contributed the least to tax revenue were fuel duty, business rates, and council tax. And I should mention here that each of them made up 5% of total revenue. And I put comma here after council tax, each making up 5% of total revenue. And there are also the remaining sources, right? The remaining sources of money for the UK government were corporation tax, and I put in parentheses here, 8%, and other undefined sources, 11%. Sometimes you can just mention the source and you do not, for example, write which made up. All right, because when you repeat that, so the structure would be repetitive. So you just put the percentage in parentheses, and you just refer to another source, right? So as what I did here in the last sentence, the remaining sources of money for the UK government were corporation tax, 8%, and other undefined sources, 11%, just like it. And I will do the same in the next paragraph, right? So for the next paragraph, let's analyze it. The largest spending was pensions, and after that, healthcare, and then welfare, and then education. So as you can see, one thing which is important here is that the most spending went back to the people. Like what? Pensions, healthcare, welfare, education. So this is important here, all right? So when you write something like this, the examiner understands that you have great ability to analyze data and analyze the chart. So we should also mention this, which the most spending goes back to people, and the least amount went to general government and to transport, all right? So let's just start writing our second body paragraph. The pie chart describing the total UK government spending for last year shows that most of the money gained from taxation went on, pay attention to this verb here, went on pensions. Again, I write the percentages here in parentheses, all right? 20%, comma, healthcare, 18%, welfare, 17%, and education, 14%. That's it. So I mentioned all the main sources, government spending. And after that, I should mention here that this data shows that the money collected from, let's say, from the people went back to the people again, all right? This shows that most of the money collected from the people went back to the people. Now let's talk about the least amount of money. The least amount of money went to general government and to transport, both areas receiving 3% of the money each, as you can see. Let's take a look at this pie chart. Transport, 3%. General government is 3%. After that, we should talk about the 7%. What is the 7%? The 7% is other spending, right? And defense. So I changed the structure of my sentence here. And the structure is that I start my sentence with the percentage, with the data. 7% of the money went to other spending, and the remaining money went to defense, which is again 7%, and I use it in parentheses here. Interest payments on debt, 6%. And protection in the form of law, police, fire department, 5%. That's it. That's a very good body paragraph and analyzing the data, and also explaining all the details in both pie charts. So one thing, again, I mentioned here is when you want to analyze two pie charts, you can divide it into two paragraphs. The first one can be would refer to the first pie chart, and the second body paragraph to the second pie chart. And when there is a lot of data, or there are a lot of percentages in the chart, you can just change the structure of your sentence. Sometimes you can put the percentages in parentheses. Sometimes you can also use relative clauses like which, and don't forget to put them between two commas, which, for example, made up 28%, or which made up 20% of the total income. That is the way you can just write different structures in writing your report. And in this way, you will definitely increase your band score. That's it for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this part and has been really helpful to you. Until next time, enjoy your time. Stay tuned, and goodbye.